the Watchtower, announcing Jehovah's Kingdom. October the 29th to November the 4th. Peace for 1,000 years and beyond. That God may be all things to everyone. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 28. Can you imagine all the good that a powerful government under a just and compassionate ruler could do for its subjects in 1,000 years? Wonderful events await the unnumbered great crowd, survivors of the Great Tribulation, which will bring a total end to the present wicked system of things. During 6,000 years of human history, self-determination and self-rule have brought a tragic abundance of pain and suffering to mankind. The Bible long ago stated, "Man has dominated man to his injury." What do we see today? Aside from wars and uprisings, there are the devastating problems of poverty, disease, destruction of the environment, climate change, and more. Government officials have warned that if we do not change our business as usual attitude, the outcome will be disastrous. Under the Messianic King Jesus Christ and his 144,000 co-rulers, God's kingdom will take progressive steps to undo all the damage done to humans and their home, the planet Earth. The 1,000-year reign will bring about the fulfillment of the heart-warming promise by Jehovah God, "I am creating new heavens and a new earth. And the former things will not be called to mind, neither will they come up into the heart." What wonderful, though still unseen, events await us. With the help of God's prophetic word, let us get a glimpse of the marvelous things yet unseen. They will build houses and plant vineyards. Who would not like to have a home of his own, a place where he and his family could feel safe and secure? In today's world, however, adequate housing is a serious problem. People are packed into crowded cities. Many have to manage with makeshift dwellings in shanty towns and city slums. Having a house of their own remains a mere dream for them. Under kingdom rule, the desire of every resident to have his own home will be fulfilled. For it was prophesied through Isaiah, "They will certainly build houses and have occupancy. They will certainly plant vineyards and eat their fruitage." Yet having a home of their own is not the only prospect. After all, some today live in their own home, a few even in a mansion or on a grand estate. But there is always the worry that the home can be lost through some financial reverses, or that burglars, or worse, will break in. How different everything will be under kingdom rule. The prophet Micah wrote, "They will actually sit each one under his vine and under his fig tree, and there will be no one making them tremble." With that wonderful prospect in mind, what should we do? Of course, all of us need adequate housing. Nonetheless, rather than striving to acquire that dream house now, perhaps going heavily into debt to do so. Would it not be wise for us to focus on Jehovah's promise? Recall what Jesus said of himself. Foxes have dens, and birds of heaven have roosts, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay down his head. Jesus had the ability and the power to build or acquire the best house anyone could possibly have. Why did he not do so? Clearly, Jesus wanted to avoid any distraction and entanglement that would prevent him from putting the kingdom first. Can we follow his example and keep our eyes simple, free of materialistic entanglement and anxiety? The wolf and the lamb will feed as one. In the process of creation, Jehovah made humans last, the apex of his earthly works. To his master worker, his firstborn son, Jehovah stated his specific purpose: let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have in subjection the fish of the sea, and the flying creatures of the heavens, and the domestic animals, and all the earth, and every moving animal that is moving upon the earth. Thus Adam and Eve, and eventually all humans, were mandated to have dominion over the animal creation. Is it really possible for humans to have all the animals in subjection and to be at peace with them? Many people are very close to their pets, such as dogs and cats. What about wild animals, though? One report says scientists who have lived closely with beasts and studied them have found that all mammals are emotional. Of course, we see animals become frightened or ferocious when they are threatened. But are they capable of what some might describe as tender feelings? The report continues, it is in the raising of their young that mammals reveal their greatest attribute, their tremendous capacity for warm affection. So we should not be surprised when we read in the Bible that peace will come to prevail between humans and animals. Let's read Isaiah chapter 11. And verses 6 to 9. And the wolf will actually reside for a while with the male lamb. And with the kid, the leopard itself will lie down. And the calf, and the maned young lion, and the well-fed animal, all together. And a mere little boy will be leader over them. And the cow and the bear themselves will feed. Together the young ones will lie down. And even the lion will eat straw just like the bull. And the sucking child will certainly play upon the hole of the cobra. And upon the light aperture of a poisonous snake will a weaned young child actually put his own hand. They will not do any harm or cause any ruin in all my holy mountain, because the earth will certainly be filled with the knowledge of Jehovah as the waters are covering the very sea. In chapter 65 and verse 25, the wolf and the lamb themselves will feed as one, and the lion will eat straw just like the bull. And as for the serpent, his food will be dust. They will do no harm, nor cause any ruin in all my holy mountain, Jehovah has said. So we should not be surprised when we read in the Bible that peace will come to prevail between humans and animals. Why not? Recall that when Noah and his family emerged from the ark after the flood, Jehovah told them, a fear of you and a terror of you will continue upon every living creature of the earth. That was for the animal's self-preservation. Could not Jehovah remove a measure of that fear and terror so that his original mandate would be fulfilled? What an enjoyable time awaits all who will survive to live on earth then. He will wipe out every tear. When Solomon saw all the acts of oppression that are being done under the sun, he lamented, "Look, the tears of those being oppressed, but they had no comforter." Things are similar, if not worse today. Who among us has not shed tears for some reason? True, at times they may be tears of joy. Generally, though, tears reflect the outpouring of an anguished heart. Recall the many touching and emotional scenes we read about in the Bible. When Sarah died at the age of 127, Abraham came in to bewail Sarah and to weep over her. When Naomi said farewell to her two widowed daughters-in-law, they began to raise their voices and weep, and then they raised their voices and wept some more. When King Hezekiah was afflicted with sickness and certain death, he prayed to God and began to weep profusely, which evidently touched Jehovah. And who is not moved by the account of the Apostle Peter denying Jesus? On hearing the cock crow, Peter went outside and wept bitterly. Because of the tragic events, small and large, that befall us, mankind is sorely in need of comfort and relief. That is what the 1,000-year reign will bring to its subjects. God will wipe out every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Neither will mourning, nor outcry, nor pain be any more. As wonderful as it is that mourning, outcry, and pain will be no more, God's promise even includes doing away with mankind's ultimate enemy, death. How is that to come about? All those in the memorial tombs will come out. Ever since Adam sinned, death has ruled as a king over humanity. It has been an invincible enemy, an inescapable end for sinful humans, the source of immeasurable sorrow and grief. In fact, for fear of death, millions are subject to slavery all through their lives. The Bible points to the time when, as the last enemy, death is to be brought to nothing. Two groups can be mentioned who will come in line to benefit from that. For the great crowd who live now, it will be possible to survive into the promised new world with unending life in view. For the billions who have already been snatched up by death, it will be possible to experience a resurrection. Can you imagine the joy and excitement when those in the former group welcome back the latter? A close look at some of the resurrection accounts in the Bible can give us a foretaste of what that might be like. Mark chapter 5. Verses 38 to 42. So they came to the house of the presiding overseer of the synagogue, and he beheld the noisy confusion, and those weeping, and letting out many wails. And after stepping in, he said to them, "Why are you causing noisy confusion and weeping? The young child has not died, but is sleeping." At this they began to laugh scornfully at him. But having put them all out, he took along the young child's father and mother, and those with him, and he went in where the young child was. And taking the hand of the young child, he said to her, Talitha Kumi, which translated means, Maiden, I say to you, get up. And immediately the maiden rose and began walking, for she was 12 years old. And at once they were beside themselves with great ecstasy. Luke chapter 7, verses 11 to 17. Closely following this, he travelled to a city called Nain, and his disciples and a great crowd were travelling with him. And as he got near the gate of the city, why, look, there was a dead man being carried out, the only begotten son of his mother. Besides, she was a widow. A considerable crowd from the city was also with her. And when the Lord caught sight of her, he was moved with pity for her, and he said to her, Stop weeping. With that he approached and touched the bearer, and the bearers stood still. And he said, Young man, I say to you, get up. And the dead man sat up and started to speak, and he gave him to his mother. Now fear seized them all, and they began to glorify God, saying, A great prophet has been raised up among us, and God has turned his attention to his people. And this news concerning him spread out into all Judea and all the surrounding country. Think of the expressions. They were beside themselves with great ecstasy, and they began to glorify God. If you had been present on those occasions, perhaps you would have felt the same way. Indeed, seeing our dead loved ones come back to life through the resurrection will produce in us a marvelous sensation of joy and exhilaration. Jesus said, The hour is coming in which all those in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come out. None of us have ever seen such a thing take place. It will surely be one of the grandest of the things unseen. God will be all things to everyone. Yes, a glorious future awaits those who prove faithful to Jehovah in these critical times. Though the grand blessings are yet unseen, keeping them clearly in mind will help us to focus on what is truly important and to avoid being sidetracked by the fleeting attractions of the present system of things. During family study and worship, in conversations with fellow believers, and in discussions with Bible students and interested ones, let us speak enthusiastically about our marvelous hope and prospects. This will help us to keep these vivid in our minds and hearts. The Apostle Paul did just that in encouraging his fellow Christians. He took them, so to speak, all the way to the close of Christ's 1,000-year reign. Try to imagine the full significance of Paul's words found at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 24, 25, and 28. Next, the end, when he hands over the kingdom to his God and Father, when he has brought to nothing all government and all authority and power. For he must rule as king until God has put all enemies under his feet. But when all things have been made subject to him, then the Son himself will also subject himself to the one who subjected all things to him, that God may be all things to everyone. There can be no better description of the grand climax than the words, that God may be all things to everyone. What does that mean? Think back to the time in Eden when the perfect humans, Adam and Eve, were a part of Jehovah's peaceful and harmonious universal family. Jehovah, the universal sovereign, ruled directly over all his creation, angelic and human. They were able to communicate with him personally, worship him, and be blessed by him. He was all things to everyone. That harmonious relationship was interrupted when humans, influenced by Satan, rebelled against Jehovah's sovereignty. Since 1914, however, the Messianic kingdom has been taking progressive steps to restore that unity and harmony. During the 1,000-year reign, marvelous things presently unseen will be brought to reality. Then comes the end, that is, the close of Christ's millennial reign. What will happen then? Though given all authority in heaven and on the earth, Jesus is not ambitious. He has no intention of usurping Jehovah's place. He humbly hands over the kingdom to his God and Father. He will use his unique position and authority to the glory of God. By then, the earthly subjects of the kingdom will have been brought to perfection. They will follow Jesus' example and humbly and willingly acknowledge Jehovah's sovereignty. They will have the opportunity to demonstrate their desire to do that by successfully passing the final test. Thereafter, all rebels, human and spirit, will be eliminated forever. What a joyful and jubilant time that will be! The entire universal family will happily praise Jehovah, who will be all things to everyone. Psalms 99, verses 1 to 3 say, Jehovah himself has become king. Let the peoples be agitated. He is sitting upon the cherubs. Let the earth quiver. Jehovah is great in Zion, and he is high over all the peoples. Let them laud your name. Great and fear-inspiring holy it is. Will the glorious kingdom realities just ahead motivate you to focus your attention and efforts on doing God's will? Can you avoid being sidetracked by the false hope and comfort that Satan's world offers? Will you strengthen your resolve to support and uphold Jehovah's sovereignty? May your actions prove that it is your desire to do so forever. Then it will be your privilege to enjoy peace and prosperity for 1,000 years and beyond.